Good evening, everyone. I'm Kubrali, and you're watching Awaz News. Tonight, I'll be taking you to top news across Canada. Accused John Torrieger charged with mischief. Very tragic 10-year-old boy killed in chain reaction crash on Niagara-bound QEW. Investigations underway after hateful messages spray-painted on North York Mosque. Man robbed at knife point at Coxwell Station during rush hour. Suspect smashed teen glasses at North York Centre Station and then spat on another man on platform, police say. Police release video of suspect in fatal Moss Park stabbing. Ottawa gives final approval with conditions for Rogers' $26 billion purchase of Shaw. These were the headlines, and now let's go through the details. The individual who allegedly threw eggs at former Toronto Mayor John Tory's office in February is now facing charges. The incident took place on February 17, around 6:20 a.m. on Tory's last day of office. At the time, Tory was sitting at his desk reading a newspaper when someone threw 3 eggs at his window. 2 of the eggs hit the glass, while the last landed on the floor of the building. Toronto police confirmed to Awaz News that a suspect was arrested and appeared in court on Thursday on a charge of mischief under $5,000. The charge has not yet been proven in court. The egging took place at Tory's was concluding his final city council meeting to pass the budget, which was repeatedly interrupted by protesters. He resigned after admitting to having an affair with a staffer. The largest telecommunications deal in Canadian history will go forward after Rogers Communications' $26 billion takeover of Shaw Communications received approval from Ottawa on Friday. The green light means the deal has cleared its final regulatory hurdle just over 2 years after it was first announced. But Industry Minister Francois Philippe Champagne took a stern tone on Friday, vowing to be like a hawk on behalf of Canadians to ensure compliance with the conditions he said aimed at bolstering competition and lowering phone and internet costs. Champagne approved the transfer of Shaw-owned Freedom Mobile's wireless licenses to Quebecor Videotron, which operates in Quebec and some border regions of Ontario. Rogers and Shaw agreed in June 2022 to sell Freedom Mobile to Videotron for $2.85 billion in an attempt to ease competition concerns raised by the original proposal. After Friday, Champagne also announced his department would not allow any further transfers of wireless spectrum until it completes a review of Canada's spectrum transfer framework. Rogers first announced its deal to buy Shaw in March 2021, and the closing deadline has been pushed back numerous times since then. The 3 companies said Friday they expected to complete the transaction by April 7th. Ottawa has secured 21 legally enforceable commitments from Rogers and Videotron to drive prices lower, Champagne said, and the condition should not be taken lightly. Those conditions include Rogers establishing a second headquarters in Calgary and adding 3,000 new jobs based in Western Canada in the coming months that it must maintain for at least 10 years. It must also spend $5.5 billion to expand 5G coverage and additional network services, as well as a further $1 billion to connect rural, remote, and indigenous communities. In January, the Federal Court of Appeal rejected the Competition Bureau's bid to quash the deal. The regulator had argued that approving the merger would reduce competition and result in higher cell phone bills, poorer service, and fewer options for consumers. It wanted the court to overturn the competition tribunal ruling in favor of the deal. Instead, the court sided with the tribunal's view that there was no substantial lessening of competition at risk. The Canadian Radio, Television and Telecommunications Commission approved Rogers' acquisition of Shaw's broadcasting services in March 2022. If Rogers breaches its conditions, it must pay up to $1 billion in damages, the minister said. Videotron would potentially be subjected to $200 million in penalties if it fails to meet its commitments. But some observers worry the conditions do not go far enough. But Open Media, an advocacy organization that promotes internet affordability, said Champagne's approval put the nail in the coffin of competition in telecommunications in Canada. It urged full-scale competition reform in Canada to avoid more mergers in the future. Police say a man has been robbed at knife point at Coxwell Station. Toronto police received a call for robbery just after 4:20 p.m. on Friday, they said on Twitter. The man was allegedly robbed on the subway platform by two suspects. No injuries have been reported. TPS is requesting the public's assistance in locating the two suspects. One is described as a tall black male wearing a navy blue jacket and sky mask, while the other is shorter black male with a buzz cut wearing all black clothing. This incident follows numerous violent incidents on the TTC in 2023, including the fatal stabbing of a 16-year-old on Saturday night. TTC safety is a hot-button topic for the ongoing mayoral election. Candidates have voiced deep concerns over violent incidents on Toronto's transit system and have listed improved cellular service, increased policing, and hiring social workers as possible tactics to address the problem. Police have released surveillance camera images of a man who allegedly assaulted at least two victims at a subway station earlier this year, including a 15-year-old boy. Police say that the incidents took place at North York Centre Station just before 1 p.m. on January 30th. It is alleged that the man was in the subway station when he grabbed a 15-year-old boy's eyeglasses, smashed them, and then threw them back at him. The same suspect, police say, then spat on a man on the subway platform before boarding a train and fleeing the scene southbound. The suspect is described as in his 30s, about 5'7" in height and weighing approximately 170 pounds. He was last seen wearing a long black jacket, dark-colored pants, a green toque, black shoes, and was carrying a black bag. An investigation is underway after North York's Tawfiq Islamic Center was recently defaced with what Toronto police are calling hateful messages. On Thursday at 5:30 a.m., police said they received a call for a hate crime mischief at a mosque near Western Road and Oak Street, which is just south of Highway 401. According to investigators, two suspects spray-painted graffiti on the building at around 12:30 a.m. The suspects were seen fleeing on foot eastbound on Oak Street. Toronto Police Chief Myron Dukey took to Twitter earlier today to condemn the incident, which police are treating as a suspected hate-motivated offense. "We are committed to investigating every potential hate crime and encourage the reporting of any suspected hateful act to police," he wrote. Deputy Mayor Jennifer McKelvey has also spoken out on social media about what happened. Toronto police are asking anyone who witnessed the incident or anyone who was driving in the area at the time and has dash camera footage to contact them. Police are making a renewed appeal for information about the whereabouts of a 27-year-old man who is wanted in connection with the fatal stabbing in Toronto's Moss Park neighborhood early this month. The victim, 55-year-old Jeffrey Monroe, was stabbed during an altercation with four other men near Queen and Sherbourne Streets in the early morning hours of March 6th. He was later pronounced dead in hospital. Within 2 weeks, police had arrested 3 suspects in the case and had issued a Canada-wide warrant for a fourth. However, that suspect has remained outstanding. On Friday, police issued a new photo of suspect 27-year-old Hussein Ibrahim, as well as surveillance camera footage, which appears to show him chatting with some other men on the night of the murder. Police also made a renewed appeal for information about Ibrahim's whereabouts, warning that he is considered armed and dangerous and should not be approached. Ibrahim is wanted for second-degree murder. A 10-year-old boy from Beamsville has died following a 3-vehicle chain reaction crash late Thursday afternoon in Niagara region, police say. The collision happened at around 5:30 p.m. on the Niagara-bound Queen Elizabeth Way, QEW, just west of Ford Road in the town of Lincoln. In a video posted to social media Friday morning, OPP Sergeant Kerry Schmidt said the driver of the gray vehicle was traveling on the QEW and approached slowing or stopped traffic. The vehicle, operated by a 31-year-old from Mississauga, collided into the rear of a white SUV being driven by a 44-year-old woman from Beamsville with 2 10-year-old brothers in the backseat, he said. Explained the vehicle was then pushed forward into another white SUV driven by a 37-year-old woman from Milton. Schmidt said paramedics and firefighters removed one of the boys who was stuck in the back of the white SUV and rushed him to the hospital with serious injuries. That child was pronounced dead at around 9 p.m. last night, he said. The victim's 44-year-old mother and her other 10-year-old son, along with 37-year-old driver and a 10-year-old girl in other white SUV, were taken to hospital with minor injuries. The driver, who initially rear-ended the vehicle with the mother and 2 boys inside, was uninjured, Schmidt said. The QEW was closed for several hours as police worked to piece together exactly what happened and crews cleaned up the mess. The highway was since reopened. The investigation is ongoing and no charges have been laid at this time. Anyone with the information is urged to contact Burlington OPP or Crime Stoppers anonymously. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Kubra Ali. I'll see you back tomorrow, same time, same channel. Until then, good night.